So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. In these words, Jesus is winding up the instructions that he has been giving to the disciples as they become apostles. The words that the instructions that we've been hearing for the last 2 Sundays before this. The instructions to the apostles who are going to be bringing the kingdom of God to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So take heart, Jeremiah. Nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. Take heart, Jeremiah, even though your heart is breaking. You have been enticed by God, and you cannot turn away from his relentless call that you speak out. The word that you proclaim from the housetops has brought you derision and shame. And the truth that you are weary from holding in, that truth has turned even your close friends against you. You see, Jeremiah's complaint is not the frustration that comes when you have something to say and no one is listening. Jeremiah's complaint is because he is being persecuted. In the passage that came just before this passage that we heard this morning, in that passage is an episode about a time that he was put into the public stocks to be shamed because he kept, well, let's call it protesting. And there's another part in the book of Isaiah where his enemies throw him in a cistern and leave him there to die. He did have some friends who got him out. And the reason that Isaiah is being persecuted is that he is speaking the unspeakable. He is telling the people of his nation that they have abandoned God and broken the covenant, that the so-called self-imagined chosen people are no longer protected. They are vulnerable. They will be conquered and they will be exiled to Babylon. Shut up. That stuff is not good for morale. Can't we talk about something more pleasant? You see, people who have a false sense of entitlement will suppress any word to the contrary. Because, speaking as someone with a sense of entitlement, false, it threatens my self-image. And it threatens the very structure of civilization as I know it. Jeremiah hears whispering. Terror is all around. And that terror is the violence and destruction that is hidden in the dark places. But he can't stop shouting about that. What Jesus says must be told in the light. That's what he can't stop shouting, and that is true. It is true then and now. I'm not talking here about the terror and destruction that we are hearing and seeing in the news. That's out in the open. I'm talking about the destructive violence that is hidden in our culture. It's hidden because we don't want to see it ourselves. It is an invisible thread that is woven into the very fabric that holds us together. And if you pull that thread, the whole thing shreds. Jesus knew that. And that's what he was talking about when he said, "For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household." You see, the family and the household was the basic structure of society in his time. And we are dealing today with a society in which that invisible thread is coming loose. And that thread is sin. Because sin is a system in which people with power oppress those with less power. It's all relative. We've all got some power. And we create and hold on to the systems that make that possible. And it is so familiar, it is so normal that we don't even see it. Because we can't see it any other way. Let me give you just an example. This is just an example. This is not the subject of this sermon. When some people hear Black Lives Matter, they immediately assume that that means that white lives don't matter. And they make that assumption because the system of sin is a zero-sum game. It is a system in which there is only so much privilege to go around, only so much entitlement, only so much honor, only so much favor, that it is limited. So that in that system, if your life matters, then my life must matter less. There are people who see it this way, but that's just an example. So take heart, Jeremiah, because you are not alone. In 500 years, God incarnate will be sending apostles with good news that many people don't want to hear. And in 2,500 years, God incarnate will be sending us out to heal his hurting kingdom. But before we can answer his voice, we need to turn over the rocks that cover our own darkness. During this week, I heard on the radio a statement from a historian from Tulsa, Oklahoma, named Hannibal B. Johnson. Tulsa, you are hearing about Tulsa in the news this week. And what he said has become a mantra for me. It is that we can't fix what we haven't faced. Take heart, Jeremiah. Amen.